Hello, Dr. Crystal. It's so nice to have you on the show again. How are you doing today?
Hi, Elisha. It's great to be back again. I'm doing great. How are you?
Beautiful. I'm doing quite fine, and thank you
Yeah.
so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you. And you see, Dr. Crystal, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so much to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Dr. Crystal, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform again and again because you did invest that in yourself. And oftentimes I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Dr. Crystal, there was this very, excuse me, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Dr. Crystal, just recently I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes now, Dr. Crystal, I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Dr. Crystal that you are today. That alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me again a second time to be on the show because I was attracted to I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing. Your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, the beautiful stuff you're doing, and how you are offering your solutions. These stuffs I found very beautiful. So I've got to say thank you so very much for doing that to yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite for the second time again. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much.
Oh my gosh. I didn't
Thank
know I
you.
was going to get emotional on our second interview. Like you, the sincerity, the storytelling. Oh my God. Like, thank you. Like that was a beautiful
You too,
reflection. I
doctor.
love trees. I love trees, by the way. Those are my
Awesome.
friends.
I tell you, I love trees too. Thank you so very much once again, doctor.
Thank you.
And you see, I am quite excited to have you on the show today for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in
Yes.
order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Dr. Crystal, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, Doctor, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible Dr. Crystal on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, Doctor, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Doctor, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are curious again. We want to know how Dr. Crystal got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Doctor, over to you.
Thank you, Elijah, for that beautiful introduction. So I guess I'll give you the shorthand version of the story, but I'm from Ozark, Alabama, which is a southern state in the United States. And I was born into a family of 10 children. I was the seventh born child. My parents were, together growing up. So I grew up in the church. Both my parents were ministers. They were Baptist ministers in the South. So you can imagine what that was like. We were in church every day. Every day. That is not an exaggeration. We were always in church, whether we were doing choir practice or praise dance practice or whatever it was. I grew up with a foundation and strong faith, and belief in God and belief in the Most High. So I really credit a lot of those beginnings, even though we didn't have much. So I was raised in public housing, which for your listeners who don't know what that is in the US, like if your parents make below a certain income, below the poverty level, then they qualify for government assistance. And it isn't the best of the best. It is what it is. And so we grew up not really having, like I said, the best of the best, but we had love. My father and both my parents were very loving human beings. And so they poured into us. My father was an artist, a musician. And so he nurtured our natural talents for artistry. I was the drawer and the singer. I had siblings who played classical piano, the clarinet, the saxophone. My brother played the saxophone and the drum. So, I grew up in the household with music, and my father read music, and he also wrote music. So he taught my siblings how to read and write music as well. But for me, I was the person who loved learning. I would ask my dad to teach me how to write my name, teach me how to write my letters. And so he did all of this before I started, primary school. So I could learn how I could read and write before I started school, which was a gift that my father shared with me because I loved education. I felt empowered when I could learn something new about the world and the way that I operated within this world. So I love that you brought that up. But I would say, those humble beginnings really shaped a lot of the journey. And unfortunately, I did lose my father to cancer at 11. And that kind of catapulted me on this spiritual journey, this awakening, and really seeing how education can become a driver for you, creating a life that is a reflection of your heart. And that's where I am right now.
Beautiful. And I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. That's a great word. So,
Thanks.
so there are some questions here that I'm quite curious
Mm,
about. Okay. All right. So the first one says, what does inner journey to outer success mean to you? Do you get that?
mm. Yeah. So the inner journey to outer success, to me, that is the only journey because your external world and everything that you experience in your external world is a reflection of what's going on internally. And I believe that the journey to inner success is really important because I was trying to do it the other way. I was trying to achieve, right? I was trying to get the degrees. I got 4 degrees before I was 29, and I was on a fast track. I didn't take any breaks. Like I was trying to do all the things and accomplish all the things because I thought if I succeed and if I accomplish this, then I'll be happy internally. But it doesn't work that way. It's the opposite way. You have to get to a place of inner fulfillment before this outer fulfillment can really take shape. And that's what happened since graduation in this past last year, since, you and I spoke, was I turned around. I started facing the inner self and I started claiming and proclaiming my inner power so that my life can be a reflection of God's highest will for me. And so that's why, I really focus on and I really, I guess, like always emphasize that inner journey to outer success because that's the only journey that we really have, you know?
Mm, that's so true. And I got that. Okay, let us talk
Yeah.
about spiritual consciousness. Okay, so
Mm.
what role does spiritual consciousness play in health?
Yeah. So I guess I will define briefly spiritual consciousness. It's a concept that I researched during my doctoral program at Yale. I was looking at how perceived stress actually influences someone's physical health. And so psychological health in this case, my physical health, I looked at during my master's program, but I was looking at the effects of stress on our health. And I was looking at young adults, people, age 18 to 26, which is defined by the NIH here in the US. So it was just like, it was interesting because I wanted to see, even though we know that perceived stress in stressful events have a negative impact on our psychological health, I wanted to see if it was a moderator. So some type of factor that could actually moderate that relationship, that could alter that relationship. And spiritual consciousness was the variable that I looked at during my research. And what it is it refers to our awareness of this invisible force that we are all connected to. It's not so much a religious variable, because religiosity can be expressed in different ways, but spirituality is very unique to the human experience. And so I wanted to look at something that could transcend all religions, right? And so spiritual consciousness or spiritual awareness was that variable for me. And so it's something that I'm still researching. You're,
Mm.
as a research scientist, like, your work doesn't end with your dissertation. I'm still
Yeah.
navigating the terrain of how that looks now in the real world, how I want to bring this concept to the real world. And it's come out a lot in my writing. I'm working on my third book now, so it's coming up a lot, and it's coming up a lot in my own journey, which is why I wanted to write about it, because I believe that it's something that we could have an open discussion about now that we're moving away from this idea that everyone has to think a certain way, everyone has to be a certain way. Like, we're all different. We're all from different walks of life, and through spiritual consciousness, we can really see that link that bridges everyone together, no matter where you're from. We're all having this
Mm.
human experience. We're all connected.
All connected. And I love the
Yes.
concept because it appears so general. Almost
Yes.
everyone can understand what you're trying to say.
Exactly.
That's a
Exactly. That was
beautiful
the
one.
goal. That was the goal.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. And you
Yeah.
mentioned that you are the process writing your third book. Can you talk to us about
Mhm.
it briefly? What's the title?
Yeah. So the title is Butterflies Everywhere, and the subtitle is Turning Difficult Transitions into Beautiful Transformations. And I started
Hmm.
writing it during that time frame where you and I were speaking the first time, when I was finishing up my
Yeah.
doctorate, because I was going through a major life transition at that time, and I still am. And everything that I'm learning during this process about who I am, and the human process of really transforming your identity and how you believe the world works and how you operate in this world. And so I wanted to write about the process. And butterflies are the metaphor for transformation, right? So they go through their
Right, right.
metamorphosis, like they go through this huge transformation from, being the caterpillar turning into what I've heard someone refer to as caterpillar soup. So the caterpillar completely breaks down in order to become this butterfly. And it's almost like this phoenix rising experience, if you will. So I love studying this within my own life, and I wanted to write about it to bring it to a wider audience, because I love writing and I love sharing my experience through my writing. And so that's where this book was born from. And so I hope that it gives not just me clarity, but also clarity for my readers who are also going through a transition, because they never stop. Life is always changing, but we can use those changes to our favor and use them to become someone greater.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's a great one. And I love that. So what about this one? How can people turn pain into purpose and
Mm.
chaos into clarity?
Yeah. So that's a process that is very unique to the individual. There are so many techniques that people have shared, through writing, through speaking, that helps people, like I said, transform. Going back, it ties very ties in very good to what you just asked me previously about the book. But I truly believe that in order to become someone new, in order to take the pain that we experience in life, for me, for example, it was, the biggest and first, most extreme pain that I felt was losing my father, and not just losing him, but watching him suffer until the end of his life. Like, I was a child then, but you don't get rid of those images. They're still there in your head. And the chaos that happened past that, like, if you're losing a father, you're losing a parent in a household, that creates a huge shift in the dynamic
Yeah.
of the parent and child. So it was a lot. Like, we moved like 6 times. I started having anxiety, something I never had before. I started having panic attacks, which I didn't know they were panic attacks at the time. I had to get older, start going to therapy to learn what was happening in my body. So there was a lot happening, but through that process, I never stopped seeing myself as someone who could overcome it. I never stopped believing in the vision that was given to me since childhood, that this is not the end of life. And even though in 2023 or 2023, I got really, really, things got really, really bad for me. And I almost gave up on myself and on the journey. But it was that glimmer of light that I saw. I remembered myself as a child. I remember her light, and I wanted to know if it was possible to get back to her. So then it became this process of like everything life kind of throws at you. You take it and you use it and you feel it. I'm definitely, I don't advocate for spiritual bypassing. Feel everything, like this is a human experience. Like grief is a part of it. I didn't know how to grieve though. So I learned, I started reading, I started listening to other people talk about their grieving process. And then I was able to release. And even now it still comes up. But when I look back on that time in my life and I see my dad, I don't feel anger or I don't feel anxiety. I haven't had a panic attack in 4 years. And like, it's just like I have a different relationship with that experience. And I think that's what the process is of alchemizing pain and alchemizing chaos and turning it into something that serves you, is that you can change your relationship with these experiences by distilling the wisdom from that, but you have to look at it. And a lot of people don't want to look at it because it hurts, and it does. I'm still, dealing with myself. It's difficult to look at
Yeah,
the things that hurt us, but it's necessary if you want to heal it, if you want to alchemize it, if you want to turn it into something new. You have to be present with it.
you have to be present with it. Whatever life throws at you, feel it. Wow. Right now I feel like I'm not just listening to a doctor, but I'm also listening to
Mm.
a lecturer. You're such a great explainer.
Oh, thank you. Oh my God. I love teaching, so I appreciate you saying
I
that.
tell you, it's so obvious. I tell you.
Oh, really?
Beautiful.
I can't see it
Yeah.
myself because I'm in the frame. So
Okay, so we have two more questions to go. All right. So let us get
yeah.
personal a bit. Okay. So, what is
Mm.
your vision for the future in public health and personal growth?
Mm. So that's a very big question because there's so much within the scope of public health that could be improved upon, especially, I know globally, but in the United States specifically, which is where I'm from and where I live now. There's so much, but the thing that I wouldn't say care about the most, but the thing that is the closest to my heart because of my own journey has to deal with the mental health and the psychological health of our youth, of our young adults in the US. Like suicide is the second leading cause of death among college students. That is ridiculous. That is something that shouldn't even be on that list. And there's so much research that we have to mitigate the risk factors for suicide, things like stress, burnout, just dealing with mental health issues as a whole. Like there's so many things that we could do, that we could create to help our youth, and they're still slipping through the cracks. And I was one of those students who almost slipped through the crack myself. And so I think that's why this is coming up so strongly for me, because it's so personal. And so in public health, I would love for us to develop something that unifies the efforts that we have around creating something for our youth in their mental health and their well-being, because they matter. They're the future. If we don't have a generation of people who have hope, then there's no hope for our nation. And I pray that in the area of public health that becomes very apparent for the people who can actually do something about it. So I know that sounds very philosophical, maybe political, but I don't want to be divisive. I just want unity. And that's my goal.
Unity, very, very important. And the fact that you're concerned about these things, it just shows how loving you are and you've got a great heart. Because not many
Thank you,
people really
Elisha.
want a solution to these problems, I tell you. So I really
That's just
appreciate that.
insane to me.
Yeah,
Of
I tell
course.
you. So,
Because
yeah,
our youth are everything. They're everything, you
I
know.
tell you. Well, thank you so very much for the wonderful stuff you're doing. I truly appreciate, and I'm giving you your flowers.
No,
Okay.
you haven't. I was like, dang, I feel so good. And your presence, you're just so intentional with your words and so
Thank
authentic. And I
you.
appreciate that.
Thank
That
you
is
so
healing.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So finally, Dr. Christel, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about the wonderful stuff you're doing, or make a purchase of your wonderful book once it is out, how can that be
Yeah.
possible?
Yeah. So First of all, thank you again for having me. It's amazing to come back this time. We're both in different phases of our life, and so the conversation is
Yeah,
different. And I appreciate this space because it gives me time to reflect and it gives me time to connect with someone who's also on their journey. So thank you. And for the audience, I would just like to say that taking the time and being intentional about going on your own journey of self discovery will be the most profound thing you can do for yourself and your community. Because as you thrive, as you start to awaken within yourself, so does everyone around you. You create this ripple effect for everyone who witnesses you in your power. And so that's the greatest thing. It doesn't matter if you don't want to go to school for 11 years like I did. Okay, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do the things that look successful on paper. You have to do things that feel successful to you. So whether you're creating art, whether you're doing podcasts, it doesn't matter what it is that's inside of you. As long as that's being expressed in a way that is authentic, that will liberate you, that will liberate your community. So I encourage you to just go down that path. As scary as it looks, I'm telling you, as you start to walk on the way appears, as Rumi said. So you'll find clarity. And for my book, like I said, it's still in the process. It's about 90% written. I know what it requires is for me to sit down and get all my notes in order, like you would do a dissertation and just organize it in a way that reads well. But you'll find out more about that on my website. So Crystal T. Harrell, T as in tango is my middle initial, .com. And on that website, you'll see a tab that says books, and then you'll find a link there to sign up for my email list. And I'll notify my email list first whenever the book is ready to be published. So you can find out more there. And my socials are also
oh,
on my website.
your website, beautiful. I love that. So that's going to be the end of the show, Dr. Crystal. Thank you for coming again, and thank you for sharing this beautiful stuff with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you.